There is one day in this beautiful month of February that many happy young couples look forward to. February 14th, aka Valentine's Day. And if you're anything like me, you spent this entire day with the one thing you truly love in this world. That Marvel Rivals. But that does not mean, ladies and gentlemen, that we cannot celebrate love on this channel. And what better way to do that than bringing back the best type of love interest series?
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
If you're new to these videos, I talk about the most loving, least annoying, greatest couples in comics, TV shows, and movies. Now, I'm usually the one to talk about the worst in people, but sometimes, just sometimes, I realize that in all my hating, I truly just want to jump up and down in joy, wish I had what they had, feel sorrow in my real life, and then gamble all my life savings away. And these couples are just the thing to make me do that. But before I get into the video, I want to mention the recent support on the channel. I see it, y'all. I see it.
A deranged animal. You're fucking.
Honorable mention to Mark and Eve from Invincible, but y'all already know how I feel about them.
Please.
Artists who can't sing versus artists who can sing.
Out of all the superheroes in the world, none rival Spider-Man in pure roster.
It should have been me, not him.
Maybe Batman, but just look what my boy Peter brings to the table. I mean, you got Liz Allen,
You can web me up anytime, Petey.
Felicia Hardy, Betty Brant, MJ head ass, Kitty Pryde on occasion, but none, and I do mean none, come close to best girl Gwen Stacy. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's Spectacular Spider-Man Gwen, TASM Gwen, or just Comic Gwen. In my first video, I talked only about the movie MJ, so for sake of continuity, TASM Gwen will be the only point of reference for my beloved Spider-Man and Gwen, which is perfectly fine with me because this version of Gwen Stacy can do no wrong.
Come on, man. That's too easy.
Let's start out with The Amazing Spider-Man 1. Already, it starts off better than the Raimi movies in terms of romance. Not only does Gwen defend Peter from Flash, but she also tells the entire school that bro is low-key stupid.
I hope you've been doing your homework. Last time I was very disappointed in you.
This is a direct contrast to MJ ignoring Peter at every turn she gets when she's not cheating on him. This is followed by Gwen making sure Peter remembers his name and advising him to go to the school nurse. You already see what's being established here, right? Mutual care. This is why I love Gwen and Peter. Out of all of the different love interests for Spider-Man, Gwen is the only one that feels like there are no conditions for them to like each other. Spider-Man does Spider-Man things like solve formulas, talk to Uncle Rubik's Cube, and search for his dead father's friends. That leaves us to Oscorp, where Mr. Parker decides to lie to the receptionist, steal someone's badge, and completely ruin some poor kid's science career. But fuck that dude. Gwen just so happens to be the tour guide of the group Peter snuck into. Now Broski tries his best to go unnoticed, but having to show his intellectual brilliance to these other fools.
She's curing herself.
Yeah, you just have to look past the gills on her neck.
Peter speaks up, notifying Gwen of his presence. They have some science banter, which is another reason I think this is the best pairing for Spider-Man. Gwen and Peter just have things in common that Peter just doesn't have with other love interests. They're both smart, they're both nerdy, and they're both not really in the popular crowd. Unfortunately for Pete, he breaks off from the group, getting bit by a radioactive spider, and is kicked out of Oscorp. This is when we fast forward to school, where a superpowered Peter absolutely starts slam dunking on Flash Thompson for really no good reason, but Jesus. Put on a poster, oh my lord. Peter goes back to back because after this massacre, he successfully, or sort of successfully, asks Gwen on a date. Mind you, this is all before Gwen even knows Peter has powers or is Spider-Man. This is the main reason I love Gwen and Peter. Unlike other certain people, Gwen fucks with Pete whether he's a superhero or not.
You're Spider-Man. And I love that. But I love Peter Parker more.
I'm not a huge fan of normal person and superhero couples because they usually never work, but this is my sole exception. Spider-Man goes through Spider-Man things such as testing out his powers, doing crazy science whiz, and Uncle Ben getting one pumped by the chocolate milk bandit.
That's why your mama dead.
Hey kids, little help?
Not my policy.
This is when we arrive at one of my favorite comic couple scenes in fiction, the dinner at the Stacys. Now, before we get into this, Meeting the entire family as a first date is bonkers. Like, y'all motherfuckers go get some coffee or go to the movies or something, but that's besides the point though, because like an absolute boss, Peter starts getting into an argument with Gwen Stacy's dad about Spider-Man at his family dinner. Again, first date being a family dinner is a little wicked. I'm not here to judge though. But then we get to the rooftop scene, and in classic Spider-Man fashion, this dude Peter starts selling shit. Until
I'm wide open. I'm gonna let this fly.
But you know, it can't be all sunshine and rainbows because obviously this is a Spider-Man story. Peter promises to stay away from Gwen, and then we get to the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now in this movie, the relationship is a little fucked up because they break up and then get back together, and then Harry Osborn gets this weird ass haircut. Unfortunately though,
You thought it was over.
much like MJ from the PS4 Spider-Man games, Gwen is obsessed with being on the front lines fighting. Like, get out of here. And due to this mistake, we all genuinely know what happens here. Fatal mistake by Gwen here, but that does not remove all the amazing things prior. I love this couple and I always will. In light of the new Avatar series, I think it's only right to include Aang and Katara in this video. The Avatar universe is home to many great pairings. Zuko and Mei, Sokka and Suki, and Bolin and Opal. But, none of you guys, okay? Look at that trash ass Avatar. But all tremble before Aang and Katara. Now, I might be a little biased considering Aang is my favorite character in the Avatar world, but they are the main couple for a reason. I like to credit this, like I do for many of my other favorite fictional couples. The reason they fit together so perfectly is because individually, they are both great characters. Avatar has some of the best storytelling in TV, finding a way to spotlight different characters while building a greater universe in the background. You see this with characters such as Zuko. Aang and Katara are no exception to this matter. A common theme you might notice in this video is a mutual care. Both Katara and Aang remind each other of what's been lost or missing from their lives. Katara helps Aang realize his duties as the Avatar, and on the other hand, Aang revives the hope and joy in Katara's life after it's been stomped out due to the 100-Year War. Basically, Aang brings the optimism to the group and Katara brings the reality. Both are needed. Now, they aren't perfect. Sure, Katara is a little overbearing, especially when her mom comes up in conversation. And Aang is still just a little kid, plus he had that whole episode after Appa got stolen where he basically said, I don't fuck with y'all no more.
Come on, you need a hug. Thank you for your concern, Katara.
Katara isn't some normie who can't handle herself in the heat of battle, and Aang isn't some loser who's protected by plot armor. From day one, this brother Aang knew what he wanted, but starting them off as friends was definitely the way to go. Now, I'm not sure where all this planning went to Korra in The Legend of Korra, because dare I say, Shawty is on Mary Jane Watson level of timing in this series. Side note, did y'all see that Korra being garbage is canon now? Oh my god! It's gonna be a tough time for my Korra defenders in the comments. Can't be me though. Aang on top! Yet another example of two characters being superpowered working better than the latter. I'm telling y'all, if y'all ever think about making a superhero universe, have your heroes date other heroes. Reed and Sue have been together in comics for 60 years. Shout out to Marvel Rivals.
What's all that movement back there?
So you might ask, how does one couple stand the test of time such as these folks? Unlike some of my other favorite couples, Sue and Reed are the sole exception that growing together can work. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, these are the only two characters I've seen beat the allegations that growing together is better than growing separately. I think this is due to the Fantastic Four element. All the members of the Fan Four share most of their big moments together. Now, out of all the long-lasting couples in comics, I got to give these guys the golden medal for most realistic problems. That being Reed constantly neglecting Sue in favor for doing all that science shit, and Sue struggling to balance motherhood and being a superhero. I mean, getting caught up in work and having problems with your family is a common problem among real-life couples, or some random fishman trying to get all up in Susan's drawers.
Ah, my dear sweet Susan Storm.
This aspect makes them feel relatable as a couple, which is always a plus. Their marriage isn't overshadowed by their superhero life. In fact, I would argue that it enhances their relationship, but at their core, Reed and Sue are a family. Don't ask me how stretch powers and invisibility equals multiversal God, but that's just comics for you. I can't wait to see them in the new MCU Fan 4 movie, which y'all better expect a video on. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments who you think the best couples in comics are and what else you'd like me to talk about. I'll see you guys in the next video.